So today for Gold's Question Time, I got the pleasure of being joined by Lydia Finnegan of Goldman Sachs. Hi, Lydia.
Hi, how are you? Pleasure
I'm
to
very good. Very good to see you again. Um,
likewise.
so can you briefly introduce yourself, please? That'd be good to start.
Yeah, sure. I'm Lydia Finnegan. I am an executive director at Goldman Sachs. I have been here over 11 years now, and I currently sit within the firm's corporate engagement team. And we cover all of the firm's philanthropic footprint, and mainly we focus on entrepreneurship programs.
Great, thank you. So we met at the Growth Investor Awards where you were the key speaker, which was fantastic. So I was inspired by the talks and great to have a bit of extra time in that with you to go through the topics and that you talked about. Uh,
Absolutely. It was a great evening, wasn't it? It was a pleasure to be there. Really enjoyed it, and I'm glad that we can continue the conversation today.
Yeah, good, good. So, uh, some of the key topics you talked about were Goldman Sachs sort of 10,000 small businesses and 10,000 sort of women's program. It'd be great to understand what was the sort of purpose behind that and what's driven it for you and for Goldman Sachs, really.
Yeah, sure, of course. So, I mean, most people know of Goldman Sachs as an American investment bank and may not know much more than that. But within Goldman Sachs and our executive office, which manages kind of the firm's corporate affairs functions, the corporate engagement team, which is where we sit, we're a global team. We run, as I mentioned, all of the firm's philanthropic programming globally. And philanthropy to Goldman Sachs is a little different to many institutions that you'll be familiar with. And what we focus on squarely is entrepreneurship. So, way back when, more than 15 years ago, long before my time, the decision was made that actually Goldman Sachs. We are incredibly focused on economic growth, client engagement, and support. And actually, for entrepreneurs, that should be exactly the same treatment that they receive, right? So we work with the CEOs of big business and big business around the world. Well, why not work with the CEOs of small business and all business, recognizing that actually, kind of small businesses are the engines of our economy, and actually in the communities in which we all live and work, we all know a small business owner. We all, many people work for small business owners, and actually, it's an economic kind of obvious economic kind of focus. And it's been something that Goldman Sachs has spent more than 15 years, long before people were talking about it, focusing on. And so what that looks like in practice is two main programs that we work on internationally. One is called Goldman Sachs 10,000 Small Businesses, which is effectively an education program for high growth, dynamic small businesses. We base this program in the US, the UK, and France. And we partner with academic institutions to deliver world class business education to not those businesses that have great lifestyle businesses, but those businesses that want to go to the next level.
Mhm,
Um,
mhm.
we step in at a time where businesses might be at an inflection point, wondering where to take their journey next. And we offer a 3 month, very kind of high intensity, rigorous program. In the UK, we have the pleasure of partnering with the University of Oxford and Said Business School. And the businesses that come on our program, and we'll talk about data and impact, I'm sure, but the data and impact shows us that the business owners that come on our program, they create more jobs, they have higher revenues, their headcounts increase, and they ultimately create a business growth plan such that at the end of the 3 months, they have a tangible product that they can take back to their business, they can implement, and they can enable themselves to grow. And then 10,000 Women, which is the sister program, which actually came first, was 15 years ago, back in 2008, a commitment to supporting women entrepreneurs in emerging markets. And again, we partnered in 15 key markets around the world with academic institutions to physically train women entrepreneurs in person. And once we hit that kind of 10,000 number, which was around 2014, we realized that actually if we wanted to make real impact, we needed to grow and scale at a way bigger pace. And so through a partnership with the World Bank and the International Finance Corporation, we have built a capital facility which onward lends to women entrepreneurs, and in the last 10 years have mobilized more than $3 billion worth of capital, which is exceptional, and trained more than 200,000 women. And now 10,000 Women sits as an online program. So anybody around the world, anywhere can take this course. You don't even have to be a business owner or a woman, it's for anybody. And again, is a business education program intended to reach people that really want to scale and grow. And that is where our philanthropic dollars go. That is where we commit to philanthropically. And then as a team, not only do the programs run, but then what? What do we do with all the people that have come through our program? We have access to amazing clients, amazing thought leaders, amazing thinkers, and we try and bridge that gap. We try and put our businesses' voices to the heart of government, who are laser focused on small business policy and growth. And we try and act as a convener to tell the story of these business owners and where they want to go next, and what things collectively we can do as a kind of society to impact and improve the lives of
Yeah.
the people that are really the engines of our economy.
So fantastic, purposeful initiatives in that there. In terms of the process, how do they work? So back to your 10,000 sort of businesses, and you say you partner with Oxford.
Yeah.
So where do people find out about those? What's the application sort of type process? And the journey, if you can give an example of a journey of just some of those ventures.
Yeah, of course. So we ask our businesses to have been running for kind of more than 3 years, and to have more than 5 employees, and to have a revenue of near to or above £250,000. It's an intentional small business program. It's not for startups. There's plenty of support available to startups, but what we see, or what we saw, was a bit of a gap in the market, right? That many businesses run for a couple of years, do quite well. They may not have the business acumen to know where to go, because they, through their purpose or an idea, came up with something. So we're trying to hit that sweet spot, that middle ground of businesses that are either ready to fly, want to keep going flatline, and unfortunately we see it, right? Businesses just can't continue. And so we want to get them at that stage where they're ready to grow, and support them. If you Google 10,000 small businesses, the application form will come up. I don't know when you'll publish this, but applications close on the 28th of April for the next cohort.
Well, we'll get that out quick then. Yeah.
They're constantly, you can apply any time of year. We run 2 cohorts a year, and we bring on 70 businesses at a time. And it's a 3-month intensive program. And the reason why we don't support businesses that don't have staff working for them is because the business owner needs to take a step back away from their business and work on it rather than in it, right? They need to take that helicopter view. So we need to make sure that the business can still run in their absence. And it's a hybrid learning model. So it's a kind of combination of in-person gatherings at the University of Oxford for 2 to 3 nights at a time, once a month. It's a bit like going back to university for many of them. And then it's online learning with smaller growth groups of individuals and like-minded CEOs, and you will always be paired with a business expert. So it's not just academic learning, which you can get anywhere. This is access to experts that have been in business for many years, that will spend their time looking at your business challenges and your growth goals, and sitting with you and guiding you through that course. We cover every topic under the sun right now. AI is a major one, but finance, marketing, brand, leadership, operations, whatever it is, we'll cover it all for you. But what and this is amazing for me to get to see when I get to go to Oxford and take part in some of these lectures. I'm astounded, because we get world-class academics who are, the number one on any key topic in front of you. And just the way they teach, the way they make you think, the way they make you feel comfortable is exceptional. And when we bring all of the businesses together, all 70, the very first day, in every break, people will kind of run back to their laptops. By the second break, laptops are gone, no one's on their phones, everybody's talking together. At the end of the residential, they'll go to the pub, they'll talk, they'll share stories. And what we see is that they become lifelong friends. We've had businesses that end up going on yearly holidays together. We've had businesses that have done business together, merged, formed companies together. I mean, it's incredible the convening power of putting CEOs in a room together who are all moaning about the same things,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
have the confidence and comfort that what they're saying kind of stays within that circle and they get the support.
Yeah, yeah. No, that journey and learning is fantastic, and that there, and I get your point about that growth stage because I've been a founding member of Henley Business Angels, so University of Reading, Henley Business School, and angel investing in that early sort of stage businesses and supporting them there, but also seeing it from the business school side when I'm a visiting fellow as well. That growth stage and that community when it comes together, supporting each other is so powerful, and that
Right.
in bringing that sort of together. So great. We've talked about the process. We've talked about the purpose behind it. I outlined the 5 Ps in a book that I published called Purpose to Performance, and the central P is people. And
Yeah.
one of the most powerful parts of your talk at the Growth Investor Awards was the people in your life and in this sort of process. Would you like to sort of give us a bit of flavour of how people are so central to driving you and Goldman Sachs?
Yeah, I mean, it's a good question, isn't it? People make everything. Everyone, every time I ever hear a senior leader at Goldman talk about being here, and when they get asked the question, what keeps you here? Every single person says people. It's so cliche, but it's true, right? People make everything happen. And I'm lucky, and I talked about this, Andrew, in the speech. I've got two pretty epic female bosses. And by the way, some of the best bosses I've ever had have been men too. I don't think it needs to be gender specific, but it just happens to be that right now I am under the leadership of two remarkable women, Sahi Pompey and Charlotte Keenan, who kind of both run our corporate engagement programs globally and internationally, respectively. They are just two women who genuinely inspire me every single day. And they, I think, have demonstrated a genuine breakdown of barriers. They are some of the most senior women at the firm. They're so effective in their roles. They really do stand out. And you know, I turn up to work every day wanting to be here, enjoying being in the presence of people that I can debate things with, discuss things with, and actually build stuff together. And we can see the tangible impact of what we build. And I think it is pretty remarkable. And I'm lucky in a place like Goldman Sachs, everyone is a high performing, genuinely nice, hardworking, pretty amazing person. And so my threshold for good people is high because I love working with and being surrounded by just smart people that commit to themselves every day, go above and beyond, and make it all look easy, even though I know it's not for anyone. Um, but ultimately, they have pushed me and molded me and guided me to be strong, to be vocal, to not hold back. They've enabled me, I think, to fly. And that's a really powerful thing that you have that when you go to work. Not many people say that about their bosses, I
Yeah, yeah,
know. But I'm lucky to have that. And I mentioned in the speech that I don't think it was just Goldman Sachs that has shaped me in that way because I'm lucky to have strong women in my life, full stop. And I talked about my grandmother, who was actually a business owner. And it's only since working on the small businesses program and understanding truly what entrepreneurship looks like, what it takes.
yeah.
I've been in the corporate world my whole life. My family's been in the corporate world my whole life. I've never known much more about entrepreneurship, but my grandmother ran a business. She built and ran a factory with my grandfather in inner city Birmingham. They manufactured the brakes for Formula One cars, which is a
Right.
pretty awesome thing
Yeah, yeah.
that they did. But they came from deprived beginnings and really built and grew a business. And my grandmother talked about when she went to the bank for a bank loan, she asked for £50 and she was told no. And she told me that story so many times that she just vowed to never ask for money again. And she never did. She worked and she built, and she kind of pushed all of us to do the same and make our own money and be successful. And then they sold that business and created generational wealth. And I think that's down to her because there was just no stopping her.
Yeah,
And the grit that she inspired into me. has definitely transcended through my career. And I feel grateful that in my career, I've also had other women that have kind of picked me up and guided me and make it a pleasure. And I think when you've got people around you that enable you to feel that way and be your true self, there's nothing better. And it's a shame when you see people be almost squashed by poor relationships, and
Yeah.
it's not a pleasant thing for people I know. But for me, we as a team, we're a small but mighty team, and we do some pretty exceptional stuff. And that's why I love going to work every day, and I'm excited for that.
Yeah. No, that's inspiring. Lydia. That's inspiring, and certainly, I think I said at the dinner after your speech that relating my two daughters and one who's doing economics and at the moment, and just her perspective on life, sort of coming out and sort of seeing, well, what's it like going from an all girls school,
Yeah.
state school, but then and then what her sort of I sort of it shocks me sometimes and some of the I said, is that really what it is for a young lady going into the city and that now, and hopefully we can make it all better and that for them, and they could all be inspired by people like yourself and the leaders you've got. Your
I
work.
agree. I mean, I work for an American investment bank that, when I first got my internship 12 years ago, many people said, "Oh no, we're so worried for you. What's it going to be like?" Because it's just the unknown. And I remember that internship. I'll never forget it. It was the best 8 weeks of my life. It was the best learning. I learned more in that 8 weeks than I did in my 3 years of
Oh
university.
yeah.
And it and it's definitely the case at the more junior level, but for the most part you are surrounded by incredible women. And I have never experienced you know me being a woman holding being held back at all.
Yeah.
I haven't. I've been encouraged to thrive. At the end of the day, if you perform well, you'll be rewarded well, and if you work hard, it'll pay off.
Yeah.
And I hope that I can encourage and inspire other women to be bold and to go for it and to build something for themselves, because there are opportunities to do so. We
Yeah,
can.
yeah, yeah. Yeah. No, fantastic. So yeah, as you said, people is central and that to the five P's that I've talked about. The next one is partners. You've touched on some of the ones like Oxford University. Who are the partners that you see now really helping Goldman Sachs and helping these ventures and women sort of grow? What are some of the key partners you're working with?
Yeah, it's a great question. I would call out the International Finance Corporation, the IFC, part of the World Bank, who we work with on 10,000 women. I love the quote, "If you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together." I think it summarizes our partnership with the IFC, and we have partnered with them over 10 years now, and we're excited to kind of continue our relationship together. But what we have built is a capital facility for women entrepreneurs, because candidly, women need money, right? We have a phenomenal
Yeah,
education program, but women entrepreneurs, they need the capital, they need the money. We're completely philanthropic in nature, but through our partnership with the IFC, we have been able to kind of mobilize and leverage a facility that through local banks all around the world, onward lens to women entrepreneurs. And 10 years ago, it was something that banks around the world were probably less likely to do. They weren't able to see the incentive and the kind of the returns that they would get. But in the last 10 years, we've managed to reach more than kind of 95 financial institutions, more than 218,000 women, mobilized more than $3 billion worth of capital. It has gone far. And at the end of the day, what we have learned through our partnership together with the IFC, it's a pure example of a public-private partnership. They've got access to all the banks around the world. They've got access to the balance sheet. We've got the convening power and the kind of thought leadership behind all that we build. And I think together, what we can do is exceptional. And at the end of the day, access to capital is access to opportunity, right? And what we have managed to do with the IFC is collate data and impact to showcase the empowering kind of outcome of investing in women. Because at the end of the day, data is not just numbers, right? It powers progress. And lastly, what we've learned with the IFC is that collaboration compounds success, right? None of us are as smart as the sum of us all.
Yeah.
We can't do this alone, nor can they. And together, we've built something awesome. And that's what 10,000 Women is, right? It started with the focus on democratizing access to business education worldwide, and it continues to do so. But education is the blueprint. Access to finance, builds the walls and raises the roof. And that's what can turn potential into progress. And so that's why we created the Women Entrepreneurs Opportunity Facility, which is the capital facility with the World Bank. And we, at the start, wanted to mobilize $600 million. And a decade on, it's more than 3 billion. So
Mhm.
we have together, through our kind of shared brains, built something pretty exceptional. And last summer, we surveyed over 1,000 of our 10,000 Women global community to ask them about access to finance and capital. And 60% of our respondents were actively seeking finance. 70% of those who had, applied were successful. But not all, right? And that's business left on the table. And I think what we've realized through our collective partnership is that this isn't just the funding, right? It's fueling their futures. It's
Mm.
bricks and mortar, it's physical stuff. And together, what we've tried to do is push financial institutions and incentivize them to make that investment into women. Why? Because women are better borrowers. They have
Yeah.
a
Yep.
0.6% lower non-performing loan ratio than the SME portfolio with the same banks. They're more risk averse, they're more thoughtful with loans, and
Yep.
often pay them back slightly better. And at the end of the day, this collaboration enables kind of success to thrive on a community. It's lonely being a CEO, right? It's lonely being a female
Yeah. Yeah.
CEO. And so what we've tried to do is we've built collectively a network of CEOs who face similar challenges. We've provided the education that they may have needed to begin with. That includes access to finance. Then we've given them the finance and collectively, holistically, hopefully provided them with a better bedrock for growth.
Yeah. No, I certainly see those characteristics. I've supported a number of female entrepreneur sort of founders and that, and yeah, I found them a lot more tenacious, focused, um, battling through, and also being a lot more economical with the sort of investment and that they've had. So I'd certainly sort of see that that value on the investment and the return, and that it's certainly in that there, not a generalization, but it's tough being a CEO and a founder.
Absolutely. And that's what I think we talked about at the Growth Investor Awards. We need men for this, right?
Mhm.
We need men who have got a kind of bird's eye view of this, who have the confidence and the advice and the conviction to share these messages. At the end of the day, not investing in women leaves half of the world's economic
Yeah,
potential on
yeah,
the table,
yeah,
and we need men to help bang that drum because it benefits all of us.
yeah. So, Lydia, great. We've been through the purpose-driven stuff. We've gone through the process of how you're running it, people being so central. We talked about your partners. Just pull it together with the performance measures now. What are you've talked about some of the numbers in terms of money and sort of stuff like that. If you could just summarize that and maybe give us one or two examples of some of the inspiring women leaders that you've seen, or some of the inspiring businesses that have gone through. It's very difficult to choose your favorite or whatever, but pick one or two, please.
Yeah, no, it's a great question. Look, we wouldn't be Goldman Sachs if we weren't all about impact and numbers.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, I think if you've not got the data to show for something, then it's as though it didn't happen. And businesses that come on our program, they often say to us, "What's the catch? Like, what are you getting out of us?"
Mhm.
And I always say, genuinely, there is no catch, right? But what we do is we regularly survey our businesses and we collate their data. And why do we do that, right? We can elevate their voice, we can elevate their impact, we can elevate their growth, but we need the stats and the data. So at application stage, we take the data from you, obviously, to ascertain whether you're a growth hungry business. And then kind of 6, 12, 18 months thereafter, we track your progress and regularly, ask businesses how they are performing and doing. And we create and release impact reports. So in the UK, the last one was 2021. We're currently building building the one for this year because it's the 15 years of 10,000 small businesses. We have done the same across 10,000 women. So we're currently building our kind of 10 years on from the capital facility report, which when it goes live, you'll be astounded at some of the data. But we've released separate reports on our impact in India, for example, and otherwise. And at the end of the day, those reports are the things that government and policymakers read, right, and access and realize that they have got, or that we're onto something, and that they want to partner with us collectively to build something. And then I think the best part of the job is definitely seeing some of these businesses and where they have started and where they have grown. And it makes me think, I'd love to run a small business. I just haven't got the idea yet. But when I come up with that genius idea, I would love to do it because I think I'd make a great CEO. I just haven't quite got the idea. But there is nothing better than, I think, sitting with these business owners and just observing them and realizing that, I think I get it hard day to day. No, I don't. What they run through is, incredibly, incredibly challenging. One of the business owners I talked about at the Growth Investor Awards is Rana Harvey. She runs Monster Group in York. She's one of our 10,000 small businesses, but it's ironic saying that she's a small business because she runs a 30 million pound retail conglomerate. And she's a pretty extraordinary woman, right? And why am I so impressed by her? Well, when she first went for a bank loan way back when, she was also told no. She had to pretend to the bank that she needed a loan to remodel her kitchen, and that was the only loan she got. And so she bootstrapped that business for kind of more than 15 years into 30 million without another pound of external capital. And I understand that, at the end of the day, investors have to invest and make smart choices. And at the end of the day, it shouldn't matter who they're investing in. The best deal should be their focus. And I completely get that. But these are examples of where that was a missed opportunity, right? They do exist. And it's just about looking around those corners, because there are pockets of excellence everywhere, but they are just pockets, right? And you've got to go and find them. And then we've got such incredible women entrepreneurs around the world, from across the world. Just last week, a women business owner called Victorine Saar, who runs Live Cosmetics, came to London and we met. She bought her skincare products over from Ghana for me. And she had a career working in the pharmaceutical industry and realized that there weren't makeup products for people with her skin color. And so she created skincare and makeup products in Ghana and has built a phenomenal business, and was in London because she was meeting Selfridges and all the different department stores to get her products into the store. And she's just landed a major contract in the US to get her products there, and was crediting the 10,000 Women program for enabling her to, one, believe in herself, two, understand what she needed to do to grow and where she wanted to go internationally. And I think the best part about her story was, when we last saw her a couple of years ago, we ran a big growth fellowship in New York, and we brought 15 women from all around the world to New York to celebrate the 15 years of 10,000 Women. And she told me at the time she wanted to get into the US. She said, that is my goal, the US. And I remember thinking, it's hard to get into the US when you're in the US already.
Yeah.
And what an amazing full circle moment that she was in London on a business trip, now pitching for London, and has had the success of the US, all because she found a gap in the market. She found a problem. She fixed it. She took our course to try and enable her to grow. It's free, so there were no strings attached. And she's got a pretty good story to tell for it.
Yeah. Now, Lydia, it's been really inspiring. The whole talk there about what you're doing at Goldman Sachs and what you're doing with the 10,000 businesses and 10,000 women. Thanks so much for sharing it. And hopefully we'll spread the word and get more support out there for, as you said, the money and the opportunity and the people that are being left on the table and that there. So thank you very much.
And thank you for coming up to me at the Investor Awards and sharing a bit about you and your story. It's been a pleasure to get to know you a bit more and learn about all that you're after. And yeah, it's great to have these conversations, and little by little, we're going to make big impacts. So thank you for having me. Much appreciated.
Thank you.